Happy Monday morning to my hearers. I will continue with mini sermon series number 33 again, and I'm so topsy-turvy, if you will. I'm back to talking about Psalms, the short Psalms, and I will start with Psalm 2. Okay, this Psalm emphasizes the relationship of God's people as opposed to their adversaries. Most likely the Philistine, or the kings who ruled the land of Canaan during the time the ancient Hebrews were marking their present help after leaving Egypt. By the way, Abraham was a Babylonian who came from Ur of the Chaldees, and it is somewhat mentioned in ancient history that the Babylonians were the first civilized nations on earth. Some even point that they were coming from outer space. Be that as it may, Abraham was from Ur of the Chaldees, and they were also known to be worshiping idols and trying to develop supernatural powers, much like the Indians some of the Hindus of today. Okay. Hebrews were making their presence felt after leaving Egypt. It seems that their local rulers had a sense that God was supporting his people and so raged against them. So the first thing they proposed is to break their bonds, bonds, together, so that the Hebrews would just be like any other powerless people without God's protection. But God will laugh at them. This is one of the few passages where the Almighty actually laughs as He laughed at those in derision, at them in derision. But their laughter easily turns into wrath. But this laughter and vexes the enemies. He will instead set His own king, probably David, upon the holy hill of Zion and declare him to become his son with all the honors and privileges according to the Son of the Most High God. In addition, he will enlarge his estate by asking him anything, such as the heathen for his inheritance and the farthest riches for his possession. Then, having done this, 1, adopt his chosen king as his son, possibly Christ himself. 2, sets him with glory and honor as the mountain of the Lord. 3, promises to give to him the heathen for his inheritance. And 4, extend his power of influence unto the farthest reaches of the earth. But must first conquer the warring kings by breaking them with a rod of iron and dashing them in pieces like a potter's vessel. However, God is compassionate even to them by giving them the opportunity to serve Him with fear and rejoice, trembling, rejoice with friendly, fear and trembling. In addition, they should be converted to serve the Son and kiss Him, lest they incur His anger and they perish from the way when His wrath is kindled but a little. On the other hand, blessed will be all who put their trust in Him, that is, Jesus Christ. Okay, Psalm 3. This is Psalm of David, composed when he was hiding or running from his son Absalom, who at first was favored by the people over him. David complains why there are so many troubling him, but strangely enough does not say to God, the leader of this is his own son, Absalom. At the point of writing, David's enemies seem numerous and powerful, who even claim that God had forsaken him, but David puts his faith in God and believes that he is his shield, his glory, and his comforter. David is confident that his prayers are heard, that even in the simple things that he does, such as laying down and sleeping, the Lord protects him. So he will not be afraid of his enemies, no matter how many, how powerful they could be. Finally, David hopes that the Lord will arise and save him, that he will smite his enemies on the cheekbone and break their teeth. Salvation belongs unto God, David writes. And more than this, he will also bless his people. Psalm 4. David prays for God's audience and mercy. He also ascribes his successes to God's grace. He complains that some people turn his glory into shame, and furthermore consoles himself that the Lord has set him apart from this man and is sure that God hears when he calls. Finally, since the psalm is written for David's people, he goes into a litany of steps to be acceptable to God. A. Stand in awe. B. Sin not. C. Commune, these are the bullets, with your own heart upon your head. D. Be still. E. Offer the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And F. Put your trust in the Lord. Finally, he implores God to lift up the light of his countenance upon us. He acknowledges that God has made them glad more than those who have bountiful harvest, and celebrates so that David can both lay down in peace and sleep, for God assuredly makes him dwell in safety. Okay. Psalm 5. Here David invokes God's audience. He also gives us a hint on what he does as he comes before his presence. These are prayer, meditation, plea. He is sure that God hears him in the morning, and then David starts to define what he knows about God. For example, no pleasure in wickedness, nor can evil mix with him. No one foolish will stare in his sight, and he hates all workers of sin. David also knows that the Lord will abhor the bloody and deceitful men. But in David's case, he comes before God in the multitudes of his mercy. And because he fears God, he will worship towards his holy temple. For example of David's supplication is, lead me in thy righteousness, make my way straight before my face. Unlike himself, his enemies, they are faithless and flatter even God with their tongues. David asked God to destroy, cast them out, that they have rebelled against thee. On the other hand, those who put their trust in the Lord will rejoice as God defends them. Thou who love his are always joyful. For the Lord blesses the righteous and great in grace and favor, as with a shield. I think David here meant God protects the righteous who are his people. Okay, I think we should stop right there, and this one will now be Psalm 6, MSS34. I believe so. 33 was what we started. Yeah, 34. And so I will